Hi, everybody. I'm Melinda Gallant, and I want to welcome you to another Cape Conversations. Guess where I am? I'm at the new Police and Fire Complex, and it is so exciting because I'm going to be talking to Chief Burke of the Fire Department. So come along, and we'll have another Cape Conversation. Hi, everybody. Oh my gosh, I am with the most wonderful person that I think I've known for a long time. He is our fire chief here in Sandwich, Massachusetts. Fire Chief JJ Burke.
Good to see you, Melinda.
Nice to see you.
Thank you.
So we're sitting in your new digs.
Yes, very exciting. We moved in at the end of August.
Yeah.
We actually had a soft opening. The first week we brought a couple of administrative personnel up to kind of get things going. And then the rest of us moved in the last week of August. We've been here about 2 months. Things are going great. You know, growing pains when you move into a new place. We're tweaking a few things, but otherwise we're thrilled to be here, and we appreciate the support of the taxpayers for approving the construction of the structure.
Excellent. Well, it's beautiful, first of all. So tell me, what happened to the old building? What's going on down there?
So the Route 6A station downtown will still be maintained. Minimum of 3 firefighters will be there. And then, as you know, last June we renovated the East Sandwich station on Route 6A. So that'll have 3 people.
That's great.
And then the old Station 3 on Route 130 will be the topic of, I think, Article 3 at special town meeting Monday night for the town to authorize to sell the property.
So once it's sold, so I could go in and I could have a fire pole in my house?
Unfortunately, we don't have it there. Good try, but yes, we do not have it in that particular station.
Okay. All right. Well, great. So tell me about this facility. You know, Cape Cod has grew a little bit, and then it kind of shrunk. And we are losing, I know, population here in Sandwich, school-aged children, which really was forecast a long time ago. And I think some people didn't pay attention, but that's another issue.
That's the reality.
It's the reality of it. So why this facility? I mean, you're built, you're here, but why was it necessary for this facility now at this time in the town of Sandwich?
So I think there's a couple reasons. The first one being basically where the population is. The majority of the population is south of the highway, south of Route 6. So having the majority of people out here, we thought this was the best location. The town is actually uniquely set up geographically. It's 42 square miles. 28.4 are actually residential. The other 14 are at the base. So there is base property that counts, but roughly 28 square miles is occupied by population. And the roadways to get to places, we have standards that we try to meet that are national standards, and it's 8 minutes or less to arrive at any emergency. So with the placement of the station here and the maintaining of the downtown station on 6A and the other one in East Sandwich, we're about 95%. We're able to get to everybody within 8 minutes. I think the important part of the placement here is the people in South Sandwich.
Sure.
So Holly Ridge, Ridge Club, Great Hills Drive, Highfield Drive, those areas of South Sandwich that were 10 or 11 minutes are now down into the 6-7 range.
That's great.
And minutes mean lives, in terms of response. So I think that where the population is, the central location here is important. I think having a compliant facility. You know, we have female employees, and if you ever saw the other station on Route 130,
I did something there a while ago.
Yeah, the bedrooms and the kitchen were all in one.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Here we have, male, female bathrooms, locker rooms. The bedrooms are private. So I think from a compliance standpoint, it was good. Administratively, to get out of the 6A station, which was flood prone, to have our vital records up here. I had seawater from the March storm almost 2 years ago now. Was in my office, never replaced the rug. We just ripped it up and left the concrete on the floor. So now we're in a central location where if there is a threat of coastal flooding, we can still have full operations out here. I'm not worried about vital records being lost.
Right. Well, that's curious. So it did, I know, so did the police station with floods. But I do have a question. Does the town have to pay for flood insurance on those buildings because
So
they're there?
I'm assuming they do just because
I
it's
I
in.
just,
I think that's
don't know.
part of the standard.
Yeah.
And I know the town's working on looking at different grants to provide some mitigation. I met with a Woods Hole group about 4 or 5 months ago. We did a walk around of the 6A station downtown, and we looked at some mitigating measures to maybe redirect water from coming into the station. The good news is a slight elevated pitch where
No way.
and some of the old timers that were on the department were telling me the stories from the blizzard of '78 and some older storms where the water would come in the back of the station and go out the front, but it never impacted the offices because there was a 2-inch lip, so it never
Right.
got higher than that. But I think trying to find some measures to prevent flooding. We have everything elevated downtown now, so even if floodwaters were to come through, our vital supplies are at least elevated.
Yeah.
And so we have a plan for that. But being out here is really it's been an excellent change, a good morale booster.
Oh, yeah.
When you're in a tight space like that and it's old and things are breaking and you come out here and everything is modern and up to date, it's really a good feeling.
Will you rotate the staff down there, the firefighters?
Yeah,
down
so
there?
we usually do our staff rotations. So they'll spend a couple months at each station. We're looking at a station bidding process where you get a permanent assignment for a year and then you can jump to another station. But everybody has at least worked in the station now the last 2 months to get a feel for it and how things work. So, no, we're very, very pleased.
Will you ever have, you were talking about female firefighters and male firefighters, will you ever have that station down there with just female firefighters? Like 3 female firefighters?
Yeah, if we had 3 on the
How
department.
many do you have now?
We just have 1 now.
You have 1. Is she an
and
EMT or is she a
She's an
firefighter?
EMT in paramedic school, and she's a firefighter.
Wow.
She's a Sandwich High School graduate.
Excellent.
So,
You're looking for firefighters.
Yeah, good local people. I think that's one of the things that we talk about now, and it's a different workforce that's out there now.
Yeah.
And what we're trying to look at is people that are committed to the community.
Sure.
And that's hard to find. Honestly, as chiefs, we've talked about that on the Cape, where it's difficult to find employees that will stay.
Yeah.
And for various reasons, they move on, and it's not like it used to be. And I'm not opining for the way things were. We have to look forward, but that's part of our strategy in
Right.
hiring and retention of personnel. Having a new station actually helps with that.
Sure.
So people that are looking for jobs, interviewing, one of the things they're going to do is look at the department, look at the makeup of the department, the facilities, and what that looks like. So having this new facility here, I think, is going to be helpful for that. Yeah.
And there aren't volunteer firefighters at all in town
No
anymore.
more. Nope.
Right.
So
Yeah.
those are
How
gone.
long ago
so
did those go?
that
Because when I
was-
moved here in '80, there were.
Oh, there were a ton. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah. There was over 100 at one point, and it fizzled out in the mid-'90s. There was probably, when I started in '93, there were about a dozen. And then by the end of the '90s, we were down to, once they retired, then we just didn't refill the program. So, and that you see Cape-wide, that's not a surprise. People can't afford now to drop what they're doing and actually respond.
Right.
And as difficult as it is, that's something that can't be done. So we have what we have, 49 full-time staff. It's including myself, the deputy chief, Tim McMahon, Lisa Malcolmson's our administrative secretary.
Right.
So
I met her this morning.
Yep, she's very pleasant.
Yes,
and
she is. Lovely
and
lady.
again, that's the full complement. So when we come into work every day, we have a minimum of 10 people on duty, 10 firefighters, and that's what we have. We need to try to recall people due to multiple calls. We attempt to do that, but not all the time do we get people back. So the interesting part is working with the other chiefs in the neighboring towns. We're all in the same boat, so we all kind of now put together the same strategy, is what's a good number to have for the start of a shift. And if we have 10 and Bourne has 10 and Centerville has 10, you pull those resources together, if something happens, we have 40 or 50 people potentially that can respond.
Did you respond to the fire that was, I guess, allegedly set at a home in West Barnstable or in Barnstable?
That was the one Saturday, right?
Yeah.
Yep, I did not respond. We did send an ambulance.
Okay.
So if it went to a fifth alarm, it went to a third alarm, fifth alarm, we would have gone. But we did send our ambulance, and that's an agreement we have with Barnstable, is anytime they go second alarm or greater, we provide an ambulance out of the East Sandwich station. And the good news is the way they used to do things, they always disregarded that station because it wasn't staffed.
Right.
But now that it is, it's like, oh, this is great. We have a resource
backup.
that's close, backup, and we're able to help them out, which is great.
That's wonderful. So tell me about the building. What do you got in this building? I know
So
you've got bays for your
We
trucks.
do. So I think it's important people understand the original design did not include where we're sitting right now. This was not part of the original design.
Really?
It was set up to just be a substation to replace the one on Route 130.
Yeah.
So it's a pre-engineered building. So where the apparatus is, and we'll take a look at that later
Yeah.
when we walk around, is almost like an erector set.
Wow.
So it literally gets pre-engineered and then put together. It's not like a
So it's
standard
a
build.
prefab house, only it's a prefab fire station.
Yep.
So it's like building blocks. You
Building
can add,
blocks.
Now, can you add to this? What's the
So we
amount?
could if we had to. So what
Yeah.
happened was when looking at the budget, there was room to be able to move the administrative offices out here.
Yeah.
This is what they call the alternate that we're in now. They were able to add this space on, which is great. And what I like about it is it's not huge and overwhelming, at least the administrative. I can see and be with everybody.
Yeah.
It's not like my office is tucked away in the corner somewhere and I can't converse with staff or people coming in, the general public coming in. So I like the size of the alternate add-on here, and I just like the general size of the building itself. It's suitable for what we need. And when you look at are there any extra frills? No. Actually, the things that are extra here, the 2 chairs that we're sitting in right now, I did invest in the conference chairs and the large training screen television here were 2 things that weren't initially in the plans that I said, these
There's
are things.
no indoor pool or anything?
No indoor pool, no sauna. The kitchen and the family room are all combined. We'll take a look at that. But that's, one big open space. It's easy to maintain, and it's easy to get around the building. It's not, you can't get lost here.
Excellent.
Put it to you that way.
That's a good thing, I guess, right?
Yep.
Right. Excellent. So where does the department go now? I mean, here you are in this new building. You're relatively new. You've been around, what, 2 years?
Yep, July of 18. So yeah, 15, 16 months. Yep.
Yeah. So obviously you're going to be here till you retire.
Yes.
That's the hope.
Yep. Oh yeah, don't worry.
So I guess, looking down the road, looking with the Cape the way it is today, and we'll discuss how traffic impacts you, summer traffic impacts you in a minute. But where do you see it going? I mean,
So we've already, and part of my task is, when I was deputy chief, my job was to handle the day-to-day operations. So I've since handed that over to Tim McMahon to handle. And what I look at is where are we going to be 5 years from now? What do we have to set ourselves up for? One of the things we just did recently is we extended our residency requirement, which can be controversial at some point. People say, why would you allow a firefighter to live 60 miles from here potentially? And the answer is it's twofold. One, we don't necessarily rely on them to be coming back like we used to. In terms of off-duty, there's a call.
oh, that you have to come back,
You
sure.
have to come back. That's why we try to staff to the 10 or 11 people that we have on duty. The second part is the cost of housing.
Yeah.
Is very, very difficult. And it's to retain employees and get good candidates. We had to look hard and say, maybe we need to expand residency to attract better candidates.
Sure.
And if you live in Plymouth or Kingston and you're settled, you have 2 kids and
Right.
and what's a 25, 30-minute drive
Right.
to work.
And
So
it's the commute, well, it's sort of in
it's
the
kind
right
of sort of a
direction.
reverse commute.
Yeah. It's still difficult sometimes.
But it's, they work 24-hour shifts, the
Right.
line personnel here. So, and they work a day on, they have a day off, they do another 24 on, and then they get 5 days off. So it's only a couple times a week you're
Right.
asked to drive down here. So
And is
was
that
one
a
of-
full-time person?
Yeah, that's a full-time person.
Yeah.
So that's what we looked at, and as chiefs, I shouldn't say just me, but the chiefs in general, especially down Cape, they're having an even more difficult
Oh, yeah.
time
Oh, yeah,
with housing, is maybe we have to expand our residency a little bit to
Right.
attract good candidates. But it also affords somebody the possibility here that if a home opened up outside of what was our radius before,
Right.
that they have the opportunity to take it. It could be an inherited home through a family
Right,
member
sure.
to improve quality of life. It
Right.
could be that they have to move and take care of a loved one.
Yeah.
And instead of having to try to figure out how they would do that, we have that buffer. I would say that maybe 20% of the staff would take advantage
Right.
of living in that distance, but the option is there, and I think we wanted to afford our current staff that opportunity if they needed to, and B, hopefully it attracts candidates to actually come work here.
And has there ever been talk with the town fathers? I've done some work with HAC and those folks, Alyssa, who is really Magnotti, who is amazing executive director there, and her talk about accessory buildings. Has there ever been talk about, oh, gee, maybe we should have something that we offer up for firefighters and police?
So that discussion has happened Cape-wide, is how can we retain, honestly, I think where you would see that more is down Cape with the issues that they're having. Us having the ability to expand the living radius and living as close as we do to the bridge affords people, there are certain sections of Plymouth that are 7 miles from here.
Right.
And
well,
so,
Sandwich is actually across the
and
bridge.
that's right, we have the Phillips Road section that is
Still
over
can't
there.
afford it, but.
But it is in Sandwich technically. So I think we're in a little better spot for that, where we have some flexibility to be able to offer people that. But I think that's one of the things that I looked at even a couple years ago, saying the way the housing market is going and just the way employment is in general, we may need to think about expanding our living radius to see what happens, see if we are able to, like I said, attract good candidates and also provide a buffer for our current employees in case something happened. There's nothing worse than if you have a life-changing event and you're required to move off Cape for whatever reason, to take care of somebody. You shouldn't have to sacrifice your job.
Right, especially if you're good at it.
If you're a good employee and you're loyal and you've been here, and that should not. And some of it's temporary; it's a year or two, but at least it gives people the opportunity and the comfort level to say, "Hey, if I have to do this,
I can do this."
The chief, the town, everybody is supporting this. So I think that's important.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, let's talk traffic.
Sure.
Let's talk traffic and emergencies.
Yeah.
Okay, so I am on the Cape Cod Chamber of Commerce. I feel like I've been on it forever, but this is my absolute, they've told me my last year, which I'm kind of glad. Believe it or not, I love being on it, but I'm kind of glad it's done. It's early meetings. Anyway, I also sit on the Bridge Fix Committee. So I went to I happened to go to the Bourne meeting about the bridges and whatever, and I obviously am a proponent for it. But what worries me, until those bridges, and they are to happen in my lifetime, I've heard, although you guys may be making emergency runs to down neck for me, I don't know. It's going to be a while. And last summer, on July 4th weekend, I think we had as many people that you could get on Cape Cod that you could get on Cape Cod. I got stuck thinking I was going a back way.
Oh yeah.
From Falmouth through Mashpee to my home in Town Neck by cutting through all these back roads, which was great until 130 and Katuah Road.
We're backed up.
The backup. And I was an hour and a half.
Yep.
And I thought to myself, if there was an emergency, I don't know what it would be. It could be anything.
Anything, yep.
The power plant blows up. I don't know.
Yep.
Something. How in the heck would you guys get to anything?
Yep.
I understand that cars move out of the way, but sometimes it can get slowly. Slows everything down.
Yep.
And then I found out, because I asked the question at the chamber meeting, I said, why does everybody know this? And it's Waze and those kinds of
the smartphone applications.
Right.
Yep.
So I guess my question is this. Can't you guys do something about that?
So it's interesting, because 4 years ago, when I was deputy, I started to see the traffic problem start.
Right.
And at the time, Chief Carrico and I discussed a plan saying we have to have a traffic plan, or a trigger for where we implement the traffic plan for our department, because otherwise we're going to be left with response times 20 to 30 minutes.
Yeah, at least.
So the original plan was written, and what happens now is we're constantly monitoring. You'll see on some screens, each of our stations have a live weather screen, but it also has traffic. So we can start seeing where the buildups are going to be. And what we do is we bring in extra personnel.
Is that right?
Yep, and we actually, not stash them, that's the wrong word, but we bring them to the the station. So, and just to give you an example, if let's say it's Sunday afternoon and the downtown Route 6A station is heading to East Sandwich to back up a crew down there, they could make it down there in 7 minutes. That's not the issue. The issue is turning around and coming back. 45 to 50 minutes on the return.
Right.
And legally, we're not allowed just to put our lights on, and if we're not responding to emergency, we can't put our lights on to come back to the station.
I think the police put them on to go to Dunkin'.
I'm not going to speak to the police or speak of the police. I'll let Chief Wack handle that one. But
I'm going to ask him the question.
You ask him that question. But we looked at it as, let's bring some extra staff in. Now, that being said, this new station provides a great location to bring extra staff in.
I see.
So what we do in the summer is we bring the extra ambulance out here. So extra staff can make it here easier than they can downtown or to East Sandwich. But there's trigger points that we look at. I'm watching the traffic all the time on the weekends. And the irony is, and I tell people this, Sunday afternoons are bad. They can be difficult. Saturdays, depending on between the 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. when people are checking out. But what we saw this year, and I think people noticed,
Monday's nuts.
Mondays were
1:30's backed up coming out of Sandwich.
Before we moved out to the station, I would go home for lunch. I live in Lakewood Hills, and I go home for lunch, and at 12 o'clock, I'm driving back Quaker Meeting House. It's backed up to the high school.
Yeah.
And the service road's backed up, and I'd spend the rest of the afternoon working from home because I couldn't make it back to the station. So now we look at our traffic plan, and we're looking at Mondays. Mondays seem to be just as bad, and it's the same choke points. You know, there's only one way to get out of here. It's over the bridge or it's 6A, and we happen to be at the end. So we get all the backups here, and people have noticed it. The 1:30 backups to the car wash, you know, heading towards Route 6.
Or further back.
Further back, Katuitt Road.
Katuitt Road.
You know, and it's like, wow, this is a unique challenge that big cities face all the time.
Right.
New York City does a great job with it because they have a fire station every 4 blocks. So they can afford to do that.
Right.
But with us, we had to look at it and say, what makes the most sense? We're going to have to invest in some extra overtime for personnel on certain traffic trigger days that we say.
Right, and you know, I mean, we're pretty clear on what the peak days are.
Yeah. We have a good idea, I think, going in. We look at the weather.
Yeah.
If Sunday's going to be a lousy day, you're going to see it earlier. If it's a nicer day, it's going to be later.
Right.
But that's a unique challenge.
Do you actually move vehicles? Because I used to manage Mashpee Commons 100 years ago, and we did all those big fireworks events and symphony events. And I used to work with George Baker, was there then. Dear old George. I shouldn't say that. He'll get mad at me. I call him old.
He's doing great. He's enjoying retirement.
He's enjoying retirement and making a ton of dough, I think, too. He's having a good time. Anyway, he used to, around town, around Nashville, because everything from the Rotary back, probably 3 or 4 miles on all those intersecting roads would stop.
Yep.
For fireworks, because of the symphony, people getting in and getting out. He loved me for that. But he would actually put vehicles in certain places.
Yep. So we
make sure they
as part of our traffic plan, we have if they're responding into the downtown area from an outlying station, there are staging areas where they will go as far as a certain point, and if they're truly needed, they will continue. Otherwise, they will turn around. We have adequate vehicles at each of the stations, is having the extra manpower to drive the second truck. So what we do is we look and we'll say bring in 2 extra people for Station 3, which is here and downtown. So we have at least those areas covered, because if the first crew goes out, you can try to call people back. They can't make it to the station, and it takes them an hour. Yeah. So that way, having that extra crew sitting there for the next call, they can get right out. Yeah. And it's having the foresight to know when to pull the trigger to do it.
Yeah.
Once you see it starting to back up, it's like, okay, let's bring the people in now. If you wait till the traffic's already settled in, it's defeated the purpose.
Right.
They're still taking an hour to get in. So those are unique challenges that's very unique to us and to Bourne. And we talk about that all the time, where the Bourne station over in Sagamore on high peak Sunday afternoon traffic exit days will handle everything over on Phillips Road and Scussa Beach, which fall in our jurisdiction. Conversely, Friday afternoons, we will handle everything from the town line Sagamore in up to the Market Basket.
Sure.
So at least we can get an initial response there. So those are the things and the discussions that we have to provide the best service, I think, to the community.
Well, just recently there was a little fire or a big fire or something at the plant. And of course, I live in Town Neck. So I get to hear all the comings and goings.
Oh, all the sirens.
All the sirens. And that's already makes it a little more exciting. Although a friend of mine came from California, she said, you live in a little tiny village. Why is there so much noise?
It's very busy.
It was because you're busy people.
Yeah.
I said, it's all the old people. Anyway, that wasn't a big deal, but boy, you guys responded quickly.
So with that, it's interesting. So I spent 9 years before I was deputy chief, I spent in fire prevention. And so when the initial Unit 3 design back in 2004, I was part of the initial review for fire suppression and the key components. And back then I started thinking, once this is done, we have to have a unique response to here. It's a very unique facility. So we have a special response card just for the power plant. So what you heard that day is basically a piece of that response. And The thing is, you need to have these, and they're very specialized units. It's not just a truck from this department. It's a truck that has a 2,000 gallon per minute pump.
Wow.
There's only 5 of those on Cape Cod.
Wow.
2 of them are in Chatham. And West Barnstable, we have an engine like that, and over in Onset, over the bridge. So, we have a very specific requirements is what we need to respond. So that's what you heard that particular day. And it worked great. I mean, in terms of, it was a very manageable small fire. The suppression system,
everything worked.
The plan worked. It was good to run through it.
Excellent.
But that's why you heard the sirens. It is a unique response.
Sure. Yep. Well, all I know is this is fabulous, and I want to thank you for your time, as always. Yep. So call us to come back if something new and exciting comes up.
Yeah, if we add a few things,
we
we're
want to
chipping
hear
away.
about it. Let's let the community know.
Yeah, we do have the, I will say we do have an open house Saturday, the 26th.
Oh, great.
12 to 3.
Excellent.
We'll be here, bring the kids. We're piggybacking on the trunk or treat event for the police, which is 10 to 12 at Oakrest Cove, and then you can come here.
Excellent.
We'll have pizza and things for the kids to do.
Good.
So, but yeah, we're happy to show off the building anytime. The taxpayers paid for it, so.
They get to look at it.
They get to look at it.
Excellent.
Yep.
Well, you'd be surprised the number of people that watch this show at 2 o'clock in the morning. So if you get a call at 8 o'clock the next morning from somebody who said, hey, I saw that show and I want to come take a look.
I want to come take a look, yep.
You'll let them.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, great. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Melinda.
Good to see you, Chief.
Yep, my pleasure.
Wow, Chief Burke, wasn't he sensational? Told us everything we wanted to know about this building, up close and personal. And now we know we have a fabulous fire department that'll keep us safe in all kinds of weather, in all kinds of traffic, and in all kinds of emergencies. It was so great talking to him. So come along next time and we'll now have another Cape conversation.